Hello, everyone. We are so happy to be with you today. Today is the Leadership Live Stream 2019, and today we'll be going over the forecast model. My name is Erin Coleman. I'm with the MCA division, and I have the pleasure of working with Bruce Virgil. He is the head of our MCA support team, as well as head of our Angels. Bruce, thanks for being here today.
Great to be here. It's hard to believe it's already goal setting season.
I know, it's the best time of the year in my opinion.
Bring on that fourth quarter. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So before we dive into the model, we're going to show you all where to find it on KW Connect.
So on KW Connect, if you go to the MCA resources page, under MC Software, down toward the bottom, you'll find a link. It can also be found just simply by searching for forecast model on KW Connect.
So right on the front page, the KW Connect in the search bar, 2019 forecast model.
And then the instructions, there's a link in the spreadsheet to it, but the instructions are also found on the MC Angels knowledge base. So all the MCAs have access to that page. You can get in here and have the written instructions to follow along as well.
Ah, perfect. All right, well, I think we're ready to get started.
Let's get started.
So I'd love to ask you some questions about this. So what was the motivation behind the update for the forecast model this year?
Well, over the last several years, as we've listened in on the growth initiative calls, we've really focused on some key metrics that run our business. We've also learned that it really requires that the entire leadership team be aligned on what those goals are. The old forecast model, well, it really didn't support those conversations. It wasn't the same metrics. And I think the conversations kind of got lost in all of those complex formulas. And quite frankly, I think we just took whatever that spreadsheet spit out and called it our goal.
Yeah, so what's great about this forecast model, it's really going to focus our conversation. So when you're having that meeting with your team, you're going to be able to go through tab by tab and have a very focused communication on what your goals will be.
Right, it's all about those conversations as a leadership team.
That's great, that's great. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, Bruce?
Certainly. So we're going to start with the trend data entry tab.
Okay.
And on this tab, really, this is where we've been so we can determine where we want to go from there. So you're simply going to take your multi-year trend worksheet, and we're going to copy in the metrics of our trend worksheet. It goes through our lore, it goes through our below-the-line production, and then it talks about our growth exercises as well. From there, and again, that's just to show the history of where we've been. From there, we're actually going to start the conversation. Okay.
So Bruce, real quick, can we go back to that first tab?
Certainly.
So, 2018 isn't over yet. So what have we done to help them with their 2018 forecast?
So on the page, it's going to calculate out a projection. We're going to look at your year-over-year change and calculate any month that you don't have an actual value for, we're going to populate in a projected value.
Okay, so what if I disagree with what the forecast model says?
Then just go in and enter a number where the actual would be, and it'll override what we have in there for our formula.
Yeah, sounds easy to me.
Okay. So again, then we're going to move to the four conversations. This is where the conversations amongst that leadership team really start. So we start with appointments. You can see over on the left-hand side where we've been for the last 3 years. And then we can see, we're going to start with owner profit.
We always start with owner profit. This is live, everyone.
Yes, you can tell it's live. So we're going to start with owner profit. So set what you want that owner profit goal to be. We do have the 3 years prior production of where that profit is. So determine what you want your goal to be for 2019.
And I love that you can see all 3 years on your multi-year trend. So it's pulling from that first tab, and it's going to show you. So when you're having that conversation, you don't have to flip back and forth through any of the tabs that you're inputting.
Correct. So once we set owner profit, we move on to the next conversation. That's our net goal.
Net goal. Let's move on.
How much do you want to grow by next year? Because we've got to grow in order to support that owner profit, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Once we do that, we're going to go through a very shortened version of the gross goals worksheet, and we're going to look at what's your ending agent count. We're going to figure out what our retention or our attrition rate is, We're going to add in our net goal, and that's going to be an estimated gross of what you need next year in order to hit that, right? But like everything else in this worksheet, even though we're giving you a number, you have to plug in what your goal is.
Yeah, you do. That's always good to keep in mind. So anytime you see a yellow box in the worksheet, that's going to be your notification to yourself and your leadership team that that's your input. You guys own it in this entire worksheet.
And now we can move to the appointments.
All right, perfect.
All right, so we have the last 3 years. We also have the conversion rate there. So we can look at, based on that gross recruiting goal that you just entered, based on what you put in for a conversion rate, how many appointments are necessary to support that growth?
That's great. And I also love that it's also taking out seasonality, because we're just dividing by 12. Correct. And that's going to show up in the rest of the forecast model.
And then the last piece on this page is our market share appointment goal. Now, the standard has been 50% is what we've been asking for, but we've heard on the conversations recently and on our calls, we're moving into a shift.
Yeah, that's true. We're already in it, Bruce.
Yeah, we're already in it for a lot of places. New associates aren't going to be joining the industry as fast. Some of them are going to be dropping out. So 50% may not be enough to support what we need.
Yeah, it's time to take a critical look at that as a leadership team. Come together and make that commitment to hit those market share appointments.
And again, as you're going through this, what is the goal that your leadership team is committed to hitting for 2019?
That's great. I love everything about this page. Straightforward, walks you through all of the 4 conversations, and it will just facilitate a greater conversation with your team.
And then we're going to move to the next item that you can control in your market center, and that's your budget.
Woohoo!
Right? So you're going to look at what you spent in 2018, make any adjustments for any budget cuts, anything we can spend less on. We are moving into a shift. We need to look at reducing expenses.
Always looking at reducing expenses, right?
So you look at anything. Maybe we do have a new staff person come on, so we have to increase salaries. But you're going to look at that, make those adjustments here, and set your budget for 2019.
And of course, since we're going into a shift, we really want to take a look at those leases as well.
Correct.
So this is a great time to sit down and take a look at your lease expense.
Right. Then we're going to move in and look at where we want to be for our lower goals. So we're going to start with units.
Oh, we always start with units.
Because units we can control, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to go in here and we're going to plug in what we want to grow by over the prior years for our unit count for 2019. If we put in 10% or higher, it's going to turn green.
Yeah, green.
Put in
green
less than
great.
10%, it's going to be pink.
Hey, this is all sounding familiar.
And just like what we've done before, we're going to give you a projected value based on what you input, but it's still your goal to set, so you have to fill in that yellow bar and tell us what your goal is going to be for 2019.
So what you're saying, Bruce, is that I can use the 2019 projected numbers, I can copy and paste them, or I can take a look at what you've generated and say, you know what, I disagree. I'm going to put what I believe the unit should be.
You put what your leadership team is committed to hitting for 2019.
All right.
We're going to do that for all 4 unit categories, and then we're just going to move down into our volume. Now, our volume, we want to take a look at what we think is going to happen in our market for 2019 and the next year.
All right.
So looking at your trend report, looking at your average sales price, looking at your average listing price, looking at all the different metrics you have available, what do you think is going to happen in 2019? Is the market price going to go up 3%?
Who knows?
Is it going to go down 5%? Only you can tell what's going to happen and decide what you want to project out for your market center.
And this might take a little bit more research before you get to your leadership team meeting.
Right. It's definitely not something to rush into. And then the spreadsheet builds on itself. So what you entered for units, when you then tell us what you want that anticipated market change to be, then we're going to calculate out a projection for our volume.
And that's a great point, Bruce. You want to make sure, so as we've said before, each of these tabs builds on top of each other. So don't rush and start and move to a different tab. Stay on each of the tabs, start at the top, and work your way to the bottom.
Work through the conversation one at a time, because we control growth, we control units, we control our budget. The market then controls our volume.
That's exactly right. All right, let's move on.
Once we get that done, we're going to go ahead and go over to the below the line production. So based on what you just input for volume and units, we're going to calculate out your average commission rate, and then you're going to set your CGI goal. You'll move down, you'll adjust what you want for paid on volume percentage. That'll set a paid on volume adjustment. Then you can set the goal for that, and then ultimately company dollar.
So Bruce, what I also love about this worksheet is it does explain to you where all of the percentages are coming from. So as you're going through, make sure you read the descriptions, make sure you understand, and that way you know where the benchmark is that we've calculated for you. But again, you're in charge of what gets put in the yellow box and what percentages you use.
Correct. And when you're talking about this as a leadership team and thinking about adjusting that number, make sure you understand what effect has on that number. So maybe you're hiring more cappers. which would affect some of these numbers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely it would. Which, speaking of, we have company dollar down here.
Right.
So, Bruce, I know a lot of our audience might be asking, how does cap management fill into the forecast model in this line?
Right. So the forecast model that we have here on that projection line, we're going to base that off of the units and volume that you've already input, right?
Correct.
However, maybe you've been working on your cap management over this last year and it's not really reflected in your trends yet. You have the opportunity to go in here and enter whatever goal you want for that company dollar. So maybe you take the total, divide it by 12, and just put a flat rate amount in every month.
Well, that's what it would do for us.
Looking at your trend report, you just decide what months do you need to tweak a little bit from the calculation that's given.
Yeah, because the yellow boxes are yours.
And then we have expenses and owner profit. Notice you can't change anything here.
Yeah, because it's pulling from the other sheets.
Right. If you want to adjust your expenses, go back and fix your budget, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Now, I love about this because now there's not any double entry here. We're helping you and facilitating you in the conversation because we help you with the calculations.
Correct, correct. And then we have a couple little extra tabs just for reference purposes. So there is an executive summary tab. It gives you just a summary of some of the metrics from what you've entered as your goals. And then we have a goals tab. This is actually what will populate from everything else, and this is what's used to upload your goals to MyKW once your region approves those goals.
Okay, so just to reemphasize, the executive summary and the goals sheet are already filled in for us, so you don't have to do anything with those. They will be pre-populated for you, and they're just an extra value add check to make sure that you're comfortable with the numbers you've generated.
Just a reference page.
Ah, perfect. All right, so as a leadership team, we've sat down, we've gone through the numbers together, and we've decided and gotten in alignment on what we're doing for 2019. What's our next step?
So the next step is submit your goals to your region. Now, every region's a little bit different in what they ask as far as deadlines and how they want those numbers presented to them. So follow your region's instructions and submit your goals to them. Now, chances are your region's probably going to come back and say, are you sure these are the goals that you want to commit to hitting for 2019? And they may do that a couple times, right?
Oh, yes.
Now, once they have actually approved your final goal numbers, then you can go into MyKW and upload them, okay?
Perfect.
The instructions for that are in those written instructions that we showed you on the knowledge base.
Okay, but if anyone has any questions or if they're having problems with the worksheet, who should they contact?
So if you have questions as far as some of the numbers to enter, as far as your market change or some of those things, I'd say go to your region because your region best knows your market in your area to answer those questions. If it's a technical issue with the spreadsheet, please email kwmcangel@kw.com and we'd be glad to help you out with the spreadsheet.
That's great. So I just want to emphasize that again one more time. Okay. So if you have any questions over any of the inputs or you're unsure about the numbers or market change percentages, that's a great thing to call your region, have a great conversation with them, and make sure that you're in alignment with the rest of your region because they're going to have the input from other market centers as well. And they'll be able to help you tweak it and make sure that it's what you really want it to be for 2019.
Correct.
But if you have any technical issues, make sure to contact your angel.
Correct.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Bruce, this was an excellent walkthrough, and I think we may have some questions.
Okay.
If you have any questions, there should be a question bar to the side of your screen. So if you go to this question bar, feel free to type in your questions, and we will answer them.
All right, so let's take a look at the first one. What adjustments do we need to make if we've opened less than 36 months? So that's a great question. For newer market centers, they're only going to have maybe a few months worth of data, or they may not have transmitted quite yet. So depending upon what your situation is, it'd be a good conversation to have. Either look at a market center nearby that's in your area that has a similar market and kind of look what they've been doing and judge your numbers off that. Have a conversation with your region possibly. Or maybe look at what you used when you submitted your application and plug those numbers in. And from there, again, it goes back to what are the goals that your leadership team is committed to hitting for 2019.
That's great. So again, emphasizing communication with your region. So there are I'm sure there's some other market centers nearby that probably have more data, and you can help look at theirs and compare them to yours and tweak them from there. Because again, the yellow boxes are your input. So you guys decide as a leadership team where you want to be for 2019.
All right. So our next question, please give directions again on how to access the forecast model.
More than happy to. You want to show them again, Bruce?
Certainly. So we're simply going to go to KW Connect, and I can either go up into the search bar at the top and just type in 2019 forecast model, or I can navigate to the resources, MCA, MC software page. All leadership does have access to this page. It's not just the MCA, and you can download it from there.
And if you have any other issues finding them, you are more than welcome to contact KW MC Angel, and we'll help make sure that you have it downloaded.
Certainly.
Yeah. All right. Oh, we got a wonderful comment. Love this. This is amazing. And you know what? I do have to give a lot of credit to Bruce Virgil. He worked very hard on this. He took the initiative to really think, how can we help you guys in the field? And I think you did a great job, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you, but I got to give a shout out to the rest of the team, because there's some others in the department, Leonore, Emily, Kara, Crystal, you, that work tirelessly to help, look at this model, to give some feedback, and also to do a little bit of Q&A, make sure all the formulas were working. So thanks to you guys.
So we have another question, and what is the deadline for submission of 2019 budgets and projections?
So your region is going to have specific deadlines on when you need to submit your goals to them for approval. Ultimately, the submission date for KWI is December 10th.
All right, that's good to know. And keep in mind that, we're going to be submitting market center goals up to the region. The region is going to submit them to KWRI. And then more likely than not, KWRI is going to come back and say, hey, let's take another look at these. So be prepared for multiple conversations to happen with this worksheet. And remember, it's a team conversation.
Correct.
So every time there's a change, don't just make a change. Come together as a team and walk through what those changes should be together.
Yeah, because if we just have one person fill out the spreadsheet and then everybody else approves it, are we really getting the alignment that we need in our leadership team toward those goals? I don't
Probably
think so.
not.
I don't think so.
So we have a really great tip from someone who's used it, and it says, save the spreadsheet often. So true. Very good point. So every time you put some input in, it's always safe. I would advise maybe if you fill out a section, just one section, like one section on closed units or your goals, go ahead and just click that save button just to be safe.
Yep, that's a good point no matter what you're working in.
Yeah, very true.
All right.
Do you have any more questions?
Got a lot of comments about just people enjoying the spreadsheet, and I think they actually like it over the more complicated old one. I'm not sure here.
And by the way, this will be saved on KW Connect. This will be saved. So if you're OP, TL, productivity coach, anyone's missed it, it will be available on KW Connect.
So we do have another question. Do I have to type in every number on the trend data tab? Is there a way to copy and paste from the multi-year trend?
Oh my gosh.
And actually there is. So
do you want to show them the video?
You can copy and paste. So there's a video out there that's been posted on KW Connect on how to do it. We also have the instructions written down where you can export your multi-year trend as a data file, basically, and then copy and paste those numbers in. We do ask that you copy and paste as text only. Don't copy the formatting. And the way you'll know if you did it right, as long as that yellow box stays yellow, you're good. And
just so you can find it a little bit easier, if you go into KW Connect and you search for our colleague, Kara Young, Karayoung, she actually posted a 1-minute video on how to do this, and I can promise you, take that 1 minute of time to let her show you that shortcut and how to fill it out, and it's going to save you 20 to 30 minutes on some data entry.
All right.
All right. Do we have any more questions?
So what type of resource should we seek out if we launch this past May? So again, the best resource I would do is talk to your region.
Absolutely.
They should have some information about what's going on in your market. You can compare to other market centers your size that have more recently launched, as opposed to maybe somebody that's been out there for 8 years. And just look at their data. And then ultimately, though, it comes down to what is the goal that you are committed to hitting for 2019?
What is your standard going to be for 2019 to hit throughout the year?
So is this a revamp of the spreadsheet we've gotten in the past, or will our region be sending the same one we have been using? So your regions received this spreadsheet about 3 weeks ago at a region meeting, and now we're just announcing it here for everyone. This does replace the KWRI forecast model. If your region chooses to, they may select a different worksheet to use. That is up to your region. Hopefully most of them will be using the spreadsheet, but it's possible that your region may send you something different.
Yeah, but this is really the form of choice, let's call it. So you can't go wrong by using this. Yes, but definitely check with your region.
Right.
All right, and it says the account names in red on the budget tab are entered as negative numbers. Correct?
So anytime you're entering in your budget, because we do have the other income, which is actually in the expense category.
It is in the expense category.
Income is entered as a negative expense, so that would be correct.
Okay. Will formulas translate into Google Sheets?
So most often they don't carry over well. But here's the other side of that. Do not bring this into Google Sheets. Google Sheets will not allow you to import it into the KWRI goals tool.
Yeah.
If you try putting it into Google Sheets, you're going to have to manually input all those goals. So leave it as an Excel spreadsheet, download it, use it that way. That's going to save you a whole ton of time when it comes time to actually submit your goals to KW.
That's a great point, Bruce. So if you do use Google Sheets often, remember you can save the Excel sheet to Google Drive as an Excel, and then you can share it that way versus converting it to a Google Sheet. So please keep it in Excel.
Very good point. Very good point.
Can you give Kara's video info again? Absolutely. Well, you spelled her name correctly. It's Karayoung, or you can ask Kelly. Show me Kara Young's uploads.
Yes, uploads.
Uploads to KW Connect, and Kelly will show you the video of what she uploaded. Watch that. It'll take 1 minute of your time and save you 20 to 30 minutes. All right. I think we've got all the questions.
That appears to be.
All right. Well, so what should we do now, Bruce?
Well, I think what we need to do is it's time really to download your spreadsheet and then set that leadership meeting. When are you going to get together with your entire leadership team and sit down and go through these conversations? Again, it's all about the conversation. It's all about getting alignment and unity in where you want to be in 2019.
That's great. So I hope you all enjoyed the live stream. And remember, let's hit our goals in 2019.
Thanks, everyone.